everyone, it's Clyde and I'll be baking something for you again today. Show you how to make that. I found this recipe called Life-Changing Bread. Someone called it to my attention a couple of years ago, and since then I've been playing around with it. Not that it needs much playing around with. It's a really interesting recipe in that it's gluten-free and it's high in fiber and it tastes really good. Ingredients are fairly simple too, with the exception of a couple things that I'll be pointing out. But you can find these things also. If you want to find out more about this recipe, I would look at the site called mynewroots.org. It goes into detail about how this recipe came about and why it's good for you and all this. So let me show you the ingredients and then we'll get started making this life-changing bread. Okay, so I will be including the recipe and my little changes to it. I didn't change much because really good recipe. I encourage you to try it because the first time you look at it you might just say this is not going to turn out, but it really does. So this is rolled oats. It's not the quick cooking oats because it's not milled any finer than this, so it's going to cook just fine and absorb a lot of the liquid. These are psyllium husks, which are very high in fiber, and that absorbs a lot of the liquid as well. Notice that these grains and these husks and things are textured, and it ends up not only absorbing the water, but it also aerates the bread since there's no yeast in this to make it rise. These are chia seeds. Chia seeds are pretty amazing, potent with nutrients, and they absorb a lot of water as well as a texture that adds to this bread too. They enlarge and they help with the aeration of the bread. And these are almonds that are roasted, and I just broke them up a little bit because when you cut the bread, if you have whole ones, they kind of break up the bread just a little bit. If you want to leave them whole, you can leave them whole. I have a couple of these that are whole in there as well. Roasted sunflower seeds, unsalted. The recipe has some salt in it, so I didn't want the extra salt. And this is ground flax meal, also high in fiber and absorbs some of the liquid. And that's where the recipe sort of ends as far as the hard ingredients. So I like to add some dried blueberries. That's about 2 tablespoons as well to give it a little more flavor. That's not many blueberries actually, but all I really wanted when I made this the first time was just little pockets of sweetness. And there is some cinnamon. That's a teaspoon of cinnamon. This is coconut oil and some maple syrup. And I also added to the recipe, I added 1 teaspoon of a good vanilla. And there's my 1.5 cups of water. What I'm going to do off camera is I'm just going to add the oil and these flavorings to the water, heat it up until the oil melts, and then I'll just pour it into all the dry ingredients. So I'll be right back. So here's my water, and the maple syrup, and my coconut oils just melted. Forgot to mention that I added a teaspoon of sea salt to that too, so that's all ready to go. So let's take a look at the dry ingredients once again. There's my rolled oats, my psyllium husks, toasted sunflower seeds, chia seeds, semi-chopped roasted almonds, ground flax meal. These are my 2 tablespoons of dried blueberry, cinnamon. The order that you mix these is not really important either, and there's no yeast to proof. So it's basically get all the ingredients measured and dump them in a bowl and you're ready to go. I mix that pretty well first before adding the liquid measurements, and I just pour that all in. I think with the cinnamon, the maple, the blueberries, it gives it a little bit more of a taste. So I'm going to mix this up well. There's some lingering liquid in there that will get absorbed as the flax and the chias in particular absorb that. Then I'm going to add everything to my prepared bread pan. Just trying to get rid of the air pockets. It's okay to push this down. It smells really good. Okay, and since this doesn't rise in the usual way, I try to form a little mound to make it that classic loaf shape. So then I'm going to let this sit for 2 hours or more. I'll probably cook this in the afternoon and it's still morning. It'll come out of the pan and then I'm going to put it on the rack of the oven and cook it a little bit more. Okay, so I'm going to cover this and let it stand. Okay, so this has been setting out on the counter for about 7 hours, so it's ready to go in. 350 for about 20 minutes. Okay, so 20 minutes went by. I'll take this out. And once it's out, I turn it upside down on a cooling rack. So a lot of the moisture has sunk down to the bottom, so you keep it upside down. And then we're going to put it back in the oven for about 30 to 40 minutes. And I'll check it for a hollow sound when that time has come. Okay, so that was another 30 minutes. It's handy to have it on another rack like this. So I'm going to get this to be right side up. I'll let that cool down and we're going to have a nice toast of this for breakfast tomorrow. Okay, so it's time to cut into this. And I'm going to toast it and try some. Cuts really nice. Maybe I'll have 2 slices. A little bit fills you up quite a bit though. So there you go. I'm going to toast that. So I was so anxious to bite into this, I forgot to turn the camera on. So this is actually my second bite. And I put a little bit of yogurt, and some friends of ours grow Concord grapes and make their own Concord grape preserve. So I put a little bit of that on there. And it's really very good. Completely different than the cinnamon roll, but this one is like 100% good for you. And I'll eat this anytime. I make this maybe every couple months. And we finish it up right away. There's little bits of the blueberry, have a little sweetness to them too. And the consistency is so surprisingly like bread, even though there's no flour, no yeast in it. So I hope you'll try it. It's a very interesting way to make bread as well. So we'll see you next time. Bye everybody.